This summer, Johnsonville reminds everyone to get their sausage family together to enjoy some plump, juicy brats around the grill. Because at Johnsonville, we don't make sausage, we make family and sausage.
A Memorial Day doubleheader. First in Yankee Stadium, the Royals face the Yankees. Then in Oakland, it's the Tigers and A's. The Yankees and Royals at 12:30 Eastern, followed by the Tigers and A's. Monday on ESPN and on ESPN Radio. This is the Best of Mike and Mike podcast on ESPNradio.com. The Best of Mike and Mike.
Hey, it's Golic. Thanks for checking out the Best of Mike and Mike podcast. Here's what we got for you from Tuesday. Off the top and the latest on Patrick Deflategate. Talk a little Peter King. 4 most interesting things on Twitter. You're going to love that. And Daryl Morey, GM of the Rockets.
The Best of Mike and Mike.
I tell you, it's hard to believe that Letterman is going away. And we'll be going through some of our memories.
Yeah, we will.
Over the next couple of days of our 11 appearances on the Letterman Show.
And we were there 12 times again. We got bumped on April Fool's Day, literally on April Fool's Day, and we literally thought it was an April Fool's joke until we were
my car was on the West Side Highway.
We were driving home. We kept thought, I wonder if they're going to turn around.
That's exactly right. I looked at the phone. I was like, when is someone going to say, just kidding, guys, come on back. Back and better than ever. Mike and Mike, ESPN Radio and on ESPN2, presented by Progressive Insurance. Our guests on the Subway Fresh Take Hotline, and to borrow a phrase that has become legendary amongst the staff at Mike and Mike, are there things going on behind the scenes at Deflategate that you don't know about? Backroom deal, cigar smoke, dimly lit room. How do we feel about that? Owners meeting start today. Peter King has theories. He'll join us later. You'll hear from him momentarily. All that and more. We'll go off the top in a second. But Golic, in the 15 years that we have been together, you finally listened to me.
What?
You said you were going to get a haircut. I told you not to, and you didn't.
Well, yeah, I didn't yesterday because my barbershop is closed on Mondays. I'm going today after the show.
I told you not to get a haircut.
I don't
Your
care
hair
what
looks good.
You've told me a lot of things over the 15 years, and A, I either didn't heed it, or B, I didn't hear it. So, I mean, pick which one you want.
I would prefer that you didn't hear it than didn't heed it.
Yeah,
but for the larger point is, I think your hair looks good. Golic, for those of you who don't follow our show on television or have not really seen him, Golic's hair doesn't grow out. It grows up.
It does.
And I personally, I think that we would all be entertained by just seeing how high it can go. Like, remember Kid and Play?
Yeah.
I'd like to see, could you think you could grow that thing a full foot atop your scalp?
It would take a long time, but I could do it. But it's wild.
I think there's nothing better you could do with your hair than amuse the rest of us.
It only looks decent now because Hopi throws a gallon and a half of paste on it, in the morning.
Yeah.
So other than that, it's all over the place. So I got to go get it cut.
I think it looks good.
I got to keep this.
I think it's Kramer-esque.
Looking pretty.
I think it's a good look.
You know what I'm saying?
I would leave it as it is.
Shake my moneymaker.
All right, let's go off the top because now you're making everybody crazy.
Off the top.
All right, Mike and here's what's going on in the world of sports right off the top. Game 1 West Conference Final tonight. Warriors and Rockets, 9 Eastern on ESPN. These teams played 4 times this year, Mike, and it didn't go so well for Houston.
Yep, according to Elias, now in this one, it's the largest regular season points per game differential between conference finals opponents in NBA history. What happened here is they lost all 4 games to Golden State by an average of 15 points. All 4 games, they lost it in double digits, lost all 4 games, and now they're facing one another. But really, a real quick note on that.
Yeah.
Last year, not point-wise, but last year, Oklahoma City beat San Antonio all 4 times in the regular season. Then San Antonio beat them in the conference final.
Meanwhile, before that game, you've got the lottery, the draft lottery. I'll give you some details, or not some details, but some behind-the-scenes thoughts on that coming up, Golic, but obviously all eyes on the ping pong ball.
And with the worst record in the league, the Minnesota Timberwolves had the best chance at winning the lottery. They have a 25% chance. That's the most because of their worst record. But if you're a Minnesota Timberwolves fan, don't get too excited just yet. Since the lottery moved to this format in 1994, the team with or tied with the best odds has only won 3 of the 21 lotteries. So only 3 times when you were the top team or tied for the top team did you get the number 1 pick, including none since the Magic won the top slot in 2004.
And I've been saying forever they're doing this wrong. They're doing it backwards. The team with the best record that missed the playoffs should be getting the first pick or getting the most ping pong balls at minimum. All that is on the right.
Off the top.
Meanwhile, Golic, there was a whole lot of this last night at the Garden.
Point, shoot, blocked by Palat. You got Steves in the zone, though. Marshall falls down, and Kucherov at the center. Maybe a 2-on-1. Kucherov across the blue line right circle. For Palat, left circle. Hold. Shoot. No, off the post. 3 minutes Is it Johnson or Kucherov? I think it's Johnson again. If it is, it's a hat trick. It's 3-1 Lightning.
It was a hat trick.
Yeah.
That's our old friend Dave Mishkin.
Love Dave.
WFLA in Tampa. For those of you who've been listening to Mike and Mike a long time, the year the Lightning won the Stanley Cup, we fell in love with this guy.
Yeah.
He loses it on goals. I mean, all the announcers tend to lose it a little bit on goals. He loses it completely. He has this normal voice, and then he goes someplace I can't even identify.
We're going to have to try and get the soundbite that made him famous, at least on our show anyway.
How did that feel, Kiprusoff?
Oh, it's fantastic. But just hearing him say it was great. Well, he got to scream 6 times last night as the Lightning beat Tampa Bay 6-2.
Beat the Rangers.
I'm sorry, beat the Rangers. And Tyler Johnson got the hat trick, got it in the second period. He now has 11 goals and 16 points this postseason. Henry Lundqvist allowed 6 goals for the second time in his playoff career and the first time since his playoff debut in 2006.
This was Dave Mishkin once when they won the Cup.
He's fantastic.
And he was happy at that moment.
Yeah.
And then finally, how about Corey Kluber? He had 18 strikeouts last Wednesday, took the mound again last night, didn't get a win against the White Sox, but he did have a whole bunch more Ks.
Yeah, from Elias, Kluber is the first pitcher to strike out at least 30 batters over consecutive starts since Randy Johnson in 2001. So he had the 18 and then the 12. Speaking of pitchers, I'll throw in there Matt Harvey. Harvey's pitching. He threw well last night, 9 strikeouts in 8 innings. The Mets needed 14 innings to win against St. Louis, but a couple of big pitching performances.
That's all for Pat. The Mets never score any runs from Matt Harvey is the problem. What's trending now is brought to you by 5-Hour Energy to improve taste. 10 great flavors. Have you tried 5-Hour Energy shots lately? So that sets the table on a busy sports day. I'll tell you why I would love to have given you, my schedule didn't permit it, a lot of behind the scenes on the lottery, including my ability to tell you why they're doing it completely wrong and backwards. But we start with this potential for the behind the scenes deal. According to our Adam Schefter, the NFL and the Patriots are engaged in, quote, back channel conversations to see if the two sides can resolve their differences without an appeal or possible litigation following the league's Deflategate punishment, sources telling our Adam Schefter. The Patriots are weighing their next move in terms of reacting to the discipline meted out by the NFL and have been told before Friday to file an appeal of their penalties, which consist of the loss of 2 draft picks and a $1 million fine. The team's penalties were for, among other issues, what the NFL said was a lack of cooperation with the investigation. Patriots owner Robert Kraft and Commissioner Roger Goodell are expected to attend the spring owners meetings, which start today in San Francisco. Kraft, when asked by Peter King at the MMQB whether he would violate NFL bylaws by going to court, declined to comment, saying, quote, I'm not going to comment on that at this point in time. I'm going to leave it. I won't say. Patriots quarterback Tom Brady suspended 4 games for blah, blah, blah. Brady has officially appealed his suspension through the league. So, Mike, as it's become legendary behind the scenes on this show, there are things going on behind the scenes you don't know about.
And it'll be interesting because what they're talking about, the owner, Robert Kraft, and supposedly Goodell in these backdoor channels, is about the $1 million fine and the draft picks. Again, a first rounder in 2016 and a 4th rounder in 2017, which quite honestly, the million, I don't think anybody really cares about except for Robert Kraft. When you have to pull out $1 million, I don't care how much money you make. Certainly draft picks can hurt you, but the biggest thing here is about Tom Brady and the 4-game suspension. Now, as part of this possible, as Adam Schefter is reporting, behind the scenes negotiations going on, part of it would possibly be when Tom Brady's appeal is heard, that it would get dropped a couple of games, but also the league was looking to have Tom Brady, because we had said if the penalties get lessened, are the Patriots going to accept it or are they going to sue? Well, part of these supposed backdoor negotiations would be that the league would drop the suspension sum only on the you want to call it a promise, on the thought that Tom Brady would not sue the league and accept whatever it would go get knocked down to, a 2-game suspension. Let's just say that for the ease of the conversation, that he would accept that 2-game suspension, and then everybody would just move on from there, and this wouldn't go to the court system. So.
Well, I mean, Brady is very upset about this, obviously. He's so devastated by what's going on that he's currently in the Bahamas playing golf with Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
He and Michael Jordan tend to play golf a lot together, and parenthetically, neither one of them seems to own appropriate golf attire. Have you noticed that? Every picture I see of the two of them playing golf together, they're wearing T-shirts. Where is it you can play golf dressed like that?
In the Bahamas.
I don't know. I've never actually. Well, I was in the Bahamas once as a kid. I haven't been there in a long time, and I have not ever played golf there. But do you not have to wear appropriate golf attire?
I certainly would try everything not to. I'd wear a thong in the Bahamas on the golf course if I could.
And then thus you'd be the only one on the golf course.
There'd be a lot of chafing.
That would be a whole different kind of double bogey. But
some gold ball.
The point is, little Patriot Ray over there says if you're Brady, any attire is proper attire.
Oh, God.
But more to the point, I don't think Brady can do that. Now, I read this yesterday. Bloomberg News is the source for this. The marketing arm, which is a Dallas company that co-produces the index known as the Celebrity DBI. And you may recall, if you listened to our show many years ago, we went through this whole thing with the DBI. It's a different way of judging Q rating, and has a few more specifics for celebrities. We both made it. Remember, we were like among the top 1,200 most famous people.
Yeah, we were.
We were ecstatic.
I think we were in the 700 or 800. Something.
No, you were. I was like 1,000 and something.
Yeah.
You were way higher.
I didn't want to hurt your feelings.
I was devastated by that. But anyway, none of that is the point.
Except for us.
According to the Celebrity DBI, which measures a lot of things, including a person's ability to endorse products, Tom Brady's standing has plunged after being suspended 4 games by the NFL. Out of 3,686 celebrities ranked in the index, Brady came in 3,027th, on par with Bill O'Reilly and Billy Bob Thornton. He previously rated in the top 3rd after being named MVP of the Super Bowl. A dude, Matt Delzell, from the Celebrity DBI, said, "We expected a significant drop, but this is huge." The DBI index measures 8 different attributes among celebrities and assigns them overall index values based on a blend of the individual scores. Awareness is the most important attribute, but even before Deflategate, while Brady did not rank highly in the appeal category, he did rank very highly in the aspiration category, meaning how much consumers wanted his lifestyle. It's pretty easy to figure out.
Sure.
He's a superstar quarterback. He makes all the money in the world, and he's married to a supermodel. So it's easy to see why people would aspire to that. I guess the point is, if you look at the actor Billy Bob Thornton, I don't know. I don't know exactly what people think of him. The commentator Bill O'Reilly is obviously extremely polarizing.
Yes,
some people love him and some people hate him.
Mm-hmm.
Tom Brady's a football player.
Right.
Even though there are people who dislike the Patriots, you're not supposed to be that kind of polarizing. This is a very long way of saying, for me, if I'm Tom Brady and I believe I didn't do anything, I'm not accepting the penalty without fighting it every single way I can, no matter what behind-the-scenes cigar, smoke room deal my owner and the commissioner make.
I get that from his side. I mean, that I like those, stats and that whole spiel just there, but I don't think Tom Brady cares one bit about that.
About his reputation?
No, that's not his reputation. That's a whatever. That's a rating.
But it is a rating that measures how his reputation has been
his legacy. That's what he's concerned about.
Yeah, well, I think that is what that is. That is a reflection of the fact that people have lost confidence in him. People think he's a cheater. At the end of the day, why is he a less?
Isn't that about marketability?
Yeah, but why is he less desirable as an endorser? People think he's a cheater.
I'm not going to get in an argument about that. Okay, that I'm with you. That's fine. Well, that's about his legacy.
That is to me the best way to quantify the degree to which people believe Brady's a cheater. Okay. And so if I'm Brady, I want to clear my name.
No. That we agree on. And that was the part I was going to get to. I wonder if he would do that. I wonder how far he will go, because that would be part of this, is for him to accept. If there was a reduction and to move on. Then, there's another side of this. There's the commissioner, Roger Goodell, basically, what do you want to call it, to Troy Vincent? I'm not going to say it to Ted Wells, because as far as the NFL is concerned, it was an independent investigation. There are many out there that want to laugh at that, and, that's certainly your right to laugh at it. But, okay. I mean, if you think Roger Goodell had his hand in the investigation the whole way, or he just let Ted Wells do the investigation, it's up to you to decide of what you want to think. So I don't think it's about Roger Goodell. All of a sudden, they're saying, oh, wow, he's knocking down his own guy in Ted Wells by ripping the report. I think he may say there's some inconsistencies in the report, and then how will he deal with it, quite honestly, with Troy Vincent, who works for him? I think a way, if you are going to lower it, I think a way to say would be, I'm happy Troy came out strong with this. I'm happy he laid, for the integrity of the game, but I do think, there are some questioning things in the investigation, so I'm going to drop it down.
Well, you can drop it down without questioning the investigation. The investigation did not determine the penalty.
You're right. Yeah.
You can say, I believe the facts of
But
the
you're going to drop
investigation
it down
to be
for
accurate.
a reason. I mean,
I'm dropping it down because I believe that the punishment levied by my own office was not appropriate based upon the findings of the investigation. You don't have to be knocking down the investigation and knock down the penalties. Remember, they released those separately.
Separately, yes. Ted
They
Wells was not
released the
involved in the
investigation.
discipline. Right.
Then they waited to hear all the reaction, floated the trial balloon, and then said, okay, it's 4 games and it's this and it's that. And largely, at least according to the poll that we did with ABC News, people liked it.
They did.
So why are you now going to make a plea deal? Because Robert Kraft isn't going to let it go, and you don't want your most powerful owner losing his mind on it.
You don't want to go to court. You don't want this thing to go any. This goes back to what I said yesterday, where I disagreed with you. I don't think they're looking at this as we're still in the public eye, so that's good for our sport. The sport of football doesn't need that. They don't need this kind of publicity.
I don't think they think it. I'm not sure that it isn't, by the law of unintended consequences, actually a good thing.
No, I completely couldn't disagree more with that, but that's not the point here. The point is that they don't want to go to court. They want this thing to go away. And this thing, because it goes to court, it's going to stay out there more and more and more. So they want this ended. And if it ends with a backdoor deal, it wouldn't be the first or the last time something like that happens. Then I wonder what public perception will be then.
I think if Tom Brady allows any punishment to be upheld without fighting it to whatever level he can, let's just play this out, okay? That DBI thing, the reason I read you that is because I think that is an indication that the public, by and large, thinks he's a cheater.
Right.
And whether he really cares about how that affects his marketability or not,
he cares about how it affects him. Right.
Yeah, he doesn't want people to think he's a cheater. He wants people to think he's the greatest quarterback of all time.
Absolutely agree.
And I would feel exactly the same way. If I'm him and I'm innocent, then I would say, listen, Mr. Kraft, with all due respect, I love you and thanks for everything you've done for me, but I'm not going down without a fight. Now, if I exhaust all of my appeals and all of my options and I fight this with everything I have and I'm still suspended 4 games or 2 games or 1 game, so be it.
I emptied the
barrel. But I'm not letting you make a deal so that it gets knocked down to 2 games, because everyone will read that as Brady accepts the suspension, thus Brady acknowledges guilt.
Right.
That's how that will read, no matter how you try and spin it.
Without question.
Right?
Yeah, without question.
So I don't think he's going to let that go. That's my guess.
And if he does let it go, then everybody is going to go that route.
I think so. Yeah. I think that they will. Whether that's fair or unfair, I think it's a somewhat logical conclusion to reach. No, I'm not sure logic has applied to any of this from the beginning.
And I wonder how much then they would try and sell that, especially at Tom Brady, to say, I'm accepting the 2 game, I'm accepting no guilt in this, but we thought it was best for the organization. You can end up spinning.
I can't wait to hear the reaction to that.
More talking from an organization that has never done a whole lot of talking. I thought Herm Edwards brought up a great point yesterday before this report was even out, all the talking that was coming out of New England.
Well, I think Dave Mishkin said it best when he said,
How does that feel?
All right, we are Mike and Mike. The NBA's Final Four begins tonight, but before the games begin, the ping pong balls will fly, and I have some behind the scenes for you on that in 60 seconds after this word from Citrix GoToMeeting. Mike, think about the time, the money, and the hassle that it takes to hold a meeting. Right? You got people that sometimes they got to fly in from all over the country, whatever the case may be. That's expensive and it takes forever. Our recommendation, meet your clients and your coworkers online with Citrix GoToMeeting, the smarter way to meet.
Yep, you can meet them whenever and you need to and wherever you are. All you have to do is click a link. No sign-ups. Turn on your webcam with HD quality. It's like being in the exact same room. Share screen to prevent. Review, get feedback in real time, because with GoToMeeting, everyone sees what you are seeing. We want you to try GoToMeeting today, and we want you to try it for 30 days for free, so you have absolutely nothing to lose. Visit GoToMeeting.com. Click the Try It Free button. Do it now. Have your first meeting up and running in just minutes. That's GoToMeeting.com for your free 30-day trial.
All right, we're Mike and Mike. We are presented by Progressive Insurance. Our guest on the Subway Fresh Take Hotline, the music, is Eddie Vedder singing Better Man last night with the CBS Orchestra on the Letterman Show.
Love that.
One of the last musical performances on Dave's show. The credit, as always, is Worldwide Pants. God bless you, Dave. You know we love you.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
Again, we're planning on spending a lot of tomorrow and Thursday sort of reminiscing about our times on the Letterman Show, because he did a lot for us.
Yes, he did.
A lot of people did a lot of – he made a lot of people's careers And among them, I think on at least some small level would be the two of us.
Absolutely right. He helped us. Absolutely.
So, we will have that the next couple of days.
And I don't think there's any doubt we helped him.
Of course. I mean, I think that he would only have made it 31 years had it not been for having us on regularly. NBA Final Four begins tonight. Draft lottery is before that tonight. You'll see it on ESPN. And I regret that I was unable to accept this invitation. The NBA invited several members of the media. I don't know how many. But I was one of them, and again, my thanks for the invitation, and unfortunately I have some things going on now. I wasn't able to go. But to come and observe the process, and I think that would have been fascinating. The idea behind it is they want media members to come see how it's done, because we all know that there are forever all of these conspiracy theories. This is the 30th anniversary of the quote-unquote frozen envelope, Patrick Ewing and the Knicks. Obviously, they don't do it that way anymore. But they want media members there. I think it's a good idea to observe how it gets done so that they could go back and report to their respective audiences.
No shenanigans.
There's not only that there weren't any, but according to them, that we would see that it would be impossible
to do
based upon the way they do it to fix it. And so I regret that I could not go. That said, I will continue to say that they shouldn't be doing this lottery this way in the first place. If they're going to do it, they should reverse the ping pong balls. The teams that have the best records should get the most ping pong balls. The teams that have the worst records should get the fewest ping pong balls. And then we would stop incentivizing losing in the NBA, which is the worst thing any sport can possibly do.
I would agree with you, though, as I just read when we did off the top, it really hasn't helped anybody with the worst record. And they just had the top pick 3 of the last 20.
But that hasn't kept people from tanking.
No, it hasn't. And it certainly hasn't worked. If their plan hasn't worked to get the top pick since, 04 in the Orlando Magic out of it. But I'm with you. I think it should be changed as well. So I agree with you. I like I kind of, it immediately, I'm turning into you in this case. When you said they wanted you to observe, I immediately went to Seinfeld and the Junior Mints. When they were observing the surgery, Kramer and Seinfeld and the Junior Mint ended up inside the patient. Inside the patient, yeah. So I thought if you went tonight, you would have had to take some Junior Mints.
It's very refreshing.
Yeah.
The best of Mike and Mike.
Mike and Mike.
Guys, when you buy your clothes at DXL, you look good. But you feel like a rock star. So if you want to look and feel like you'll find all the brands you love, waist size 38 and up, all in one awesome store. DXL, you're looking good. Right now, Harbor Bay tees are just $19.99 each when you buy 2 or more.
The best of Mike and Mike.
Peter, Mike and I are still struggling with this. If I'm Robert Kraft and my contention is we didn't do anything wrong here based on the ideal gas theory and all these things, then I'm not suspending anybody. I remain confused by this. What do you make of it?
Well, it's one of those things that the Patriots, at the end of the day, got to know that the NFL was going to pass judgment on them and was going to sanction the franchise. So the Patriots are sitting there saying, okay, we got to do everything possible to lessen the impact of whatever the suspension will be or whatever the sanction will be. So they figured, okay, the league if we don't do it, the league is going to do it. So let's show our league colors and let's basically go and say to the league, look, we're doing what you want us to do. We're the ones handling this. So this is what I'm assuming happened. They suspend them and think then that the league is going to take that into account in their punishment. And almost, it wasn't the opposite, but it's almost like the league was going to do what it was going to do anyway, regardless of what the Patriots did. So I think where the Patriots might have thought that they were doing the league a solid, the league was saying we're just going to do what we want anyway.
So in going forward with this, and again, you talked to Robert Kraft for 50 minutes, and knowing how angry he is about things, do you think as we approach an end game to this, at some point the end game is going to be they will accept lesser penalties, or they are going to fight this thing tooth and nail all the way, even if it goes to the courts?
Well, I'm a week ago when this first happened, Mike, I thought that Robert Kraft might go to court, get a lawyer, go to court, go Al Davis on the NFL. I now think that that's more unlikely than likely. In my opinion now, I think some of these discussions Adam was talking about yesterday, wisely, the sort of back channel discussions, I think some of those are intended to, try to find out from the NFL, why is it that you didn't take the ideal gas law theories that were discussed openly in the Wells report, and that, but also in saying that, what can we do about the punishments that have been levied? And I've thought all along that one of the things that is possible here, I'm not saying it will happen, but one of the things that is possible is that the NFL and the Patriots could talk about a lessening of the sanctions either on the organization or on Brady that could then, eliminate this. The Patriots will just take their punishment, they'll shut up, be angry, but they'll shut up and they'll just move on.
And then there's Tom Brady's side of this. Mike and Mike, Peter King is with us on the Subway Fresh Steak Hotline. Try our new guacamole at Subway. Turn up the flavor to all your favorite sandwiches. Subway, eat fresh. I read a thing this morning, a note from the Celebrity DBI Index, which indicates that in the last couple of weeks, Tom Brady's numbers have gone way down. The way people view him have gone way down, plummeted. It was described as being somewhat startling, even under the circumstances. And while I don't know how much he cares about his value and endorsement, I have to believe that he cares greatly about his perception and the fact that this can only indicate that people out there in this country think he's a cheater. I then think that he might be inclined to fight this thing as far as he possibly can, if only to continue to be able to say to the world, look, I didn't do anything wrong here. I will fight this as long and as hard as I possibly can, and if I lose, I will lose having emptied the barrel, if you will, because I don't want anyone to think that I am accepting the punishment, that I'm acknowledging that I cheated in any way here. What is your sense of that?
If Tom Brady absolutely unequivocally did nothing wrong in this case, I agree with you, and I think he will fight it all the way. But I think there's also a side of him and a side of the Patriots that says in the old football, let's eliminate all distractions. That if we have the opportunity to take 2 games instead of 0 games or 4 games or whatever, let's just take it, move on, shut up. Look, I maintain that since 2007, the relationship between Bill Belichick and Roger Goodell is basically non-existent anyway, because, Belichick thought that they were singled out, which they were. They were singled out because they did do something wrong. But, I think there's part of this that the Patriots, in a football sense, want to say we can't have this hanging over our head like a sword of Damocles. So I think that's a decision both Brady and not only Brady will make individually, but Kraft and Belichick and Brady will have to make collectively.
If there is, in essence, or has been a bit of a war of words, a battle with Robert Kraft and Roger Goodell, where do you think the other owners stand on this?
I don't think that Roger Goodell will have a group, 4, 8, 12, however many, aligning with Robert Kraft against him. I mean, I don't sense that there is a large number of owners. I mean, look, the end game is what everybody is asking is there any way that this could make 24 owners, because that's how many it would take to get rid of Roger Goodell. Is there any way that Kraft could get an ownership group like that together? I don't think so. And the reason is that I don't sense, there's a lot of teams in the NFL right now. There's a bunch of owners, I think, that are not unhappy to see the Patriots get penalized. Now, they might be unhappy at the size of the sanction, feeling that, you killed an ant with a sledgehammer, that they've been over-sanctioned. But I don't sense any great groundswell among the owners that Roger Goodell is wielding his power viciously and it could happen to any of us. I think that's the one thing that Robert Kraft wants his other owners to realize it's just not something that I think has a lot of momentum right now.
Mike and Mike, Peter King, the MMQB.com. And so today, all of them, the owners and Goodell and everyone else, meet in San Francisco for the owners' meetings. What is your sense of what's going to be happening there behind the scenes relative to this story?
I'm sure that if it, who knows, it may have happened last night in San Francisco, may happen today or tomorrow. But I think at some point Robert Kraft and Roger Goodell are going to sit down and talk, obviously out of sight of everybody. But there needs to be a thaw in this situation, and I think it needs to come soon. I think they need to have a discussion for the good of the league, for the good of the Patriots. And we'll see what happens. But I don't think you're going to see a lot of news out of that. I think you will get some sound bites of Robert Kraft at this meeting still being angry and trying to press his case. But I think the only big news out of these meetings, in my opinion, there'll be some rumblings about Los Angeles and a possible new stadium proposal in San Diego. But I think for fans, the most interesting thing will be that they're likely to change what happens to the extra point.
That's the big thing, right? The three different things.
Yeah, the three different. If they do it, I do hope it is the one. I don't know, Peter, if you have a thought on that. I hope they move it to the 15-yard line. I'd move it back more. Put the ball on the 1-yard line, so really tempt teams to go for that 2-point conversion. Do you think they're leaning any particular way?
Yeah, Mike, I don't think they're going to go to the 1-yard line. I think they will end up going to the 15, but stay at the 2, and I'll tell you 2 reasons why. Number one, I totally agree with you. It's a 90 to 93% likelihood of making the extra point if you put the line of scrimmage at the 15-yard line. Look, I've been told that this proposal is a starting point, that probably in 2016 it'll move back even further. But just for this year, to get it going, to start, a new way of doing the point after touchdown, they go to the 15. The reason that I don't think they go to the 1 is because of the injury possibility for quarterbacks. You know that Tom Brady, Drew Brees, and others have this thing when they get to the 1-yard line. They just jump up, shove the ball over the goal line, pierce the goal line, bring the ball back, and then just basically walk away or dive into the pile. I think there's a fear on behalf of some on the competition committee in the NFL that what happens is that you get a 245-pound linebacker who knows that Tom Brady works this way, who as soon as he can time the snap count is going to come in and jump up. And if Brady doesn't do it, that's fine. But if Brady does do it, then he smashes Brady and maybe concusses him or does something like that. I write about this morning at the MMQB, but I think it's unlikely for that reason and a couple of others that they go to the 1.
Oh, protecting those quarterbacks yet again.
All the kids quarterbacks.
Is that we're going? I was just going to say when the linebacker hits him, what's the problem? So lastly, Peter, let me ask you this: will we ever see again, starting next season, an employee of that team carrying their footballs out to the field?
If the employee of the team is carrying the footballs, he'll have an escort alongside of him, I'll tell you that much. I mean, the one thing in here that simply hasn't gotten enough attention is, in my opinion, the fact that Walt Anderson, the referee in this game, lost sight/control of these footballs for 7 to 9 minutes before the game, according to the Wells report. And with a supervised bag of backup footballs, after being told the day before, watch out for funny business with the footballs, Anderson just used the balls and it disappeared instead of the supervised bag of backup footballs. That's something that he should have done something about, and the Wells report should have acknowledged.
It's Peter King, the MMQB, and always there when we need him. Thanks, Pete. Good to talk to you.
All right, guys.
Mike and Mike.
On the Letterman show, as Dave's huge final few shows with the big guest saying goodbye and thank you to him continue through his final show tomorrow night. And again, we plan tomorrow and Thursday to spend a good deal of time. We've done a little bit of it today, but tomorrow and Thursday to spend a bunch of time sort of reminiscing about our 11 visits with Dave Letterman, which was a thrill for us every single time, even the time that we got bumped. Yeah, I even enjoyed that.
I enjoyed most of it until the car ride home when they realized they weren't kidding.
You may recall that even though they bumped us, They still give us the cookies.
Yes, they did.
They have a cookie when you go on the Letterman show in the dressing room. They have a cookie plate.
Cookie plate and a fruit plate.
And I always enjoyed the fruit.
And I enjoy the cookies. And our agent enjoys the cookies.
Lou eats more of the cookies than anybody.
And he takes them. He thinks that they're all
a party gift.
Exactly right.
Yeah. One way or the other. Peter King's going to join us coming up off the top of the hour.
Hold it.
What do you mean, hold it?
Let's go back to the hair conversation.
We don't have enough retweets yet. Here's the thing. We got a picture of Golic up at Mike and Mike on Twitter. I need you to retweet that. Golic has agreed that if we get 10,000 retweets, he won't cut his hair for at least a week. His hair grows up. It doesn't grow out. It doesn't look like it will look. It isn't going to look like it does in this picture. I think Golic's hair will start to look like almost a ladder on top of his head.
If we get those retweets, I'll stop putting the product in the hair that Hope he puts in and let it grow up. This from Kim. Kim. Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, get page 10 ready.
All right.
Golic is sexy. Then she gets to you. The beard makes Greeny sexy, but without the beard, sorry, Greeny, you aren't sexy. Wow. But Golic, long hair or short hair, he's always sexy because Golic has it. We can't describe it, but we know it when we see it, and boy, does Golic have it going on. Yeah.
Wow.
Signed, Kim. Yeah. What do you have to say to that there, big boy? Huh?
She thinks my beard is sexy.
Oh, that's what you took out of that?
Yes, it is. We are Mike and Mike. Speaking of Twitter, let's go through the four most interesting things that we saw on Twitter yesterday, and then we'll get Peter King in here with his thoughts on Robert Kraft and the latest developments on that whole situation. Bubba, give me a little music, and we'll do some Twitter stories here. And it starts with one I really like. Now, I was the sort of kid who might have invited a basketball star to my birthday party. Lord knows no one else was coming. 14 years ago, a kid named Daniel Marks invited Jason Kidd, who was then a star point guard, to his birthday party, and Jason Kidd couldn't go.
Yeah, tough for those. And, that happens. Kids will send stuff out to athletes hoping, you get something
14 years later.
Yeah. 14 years later, their paths crossed in the Bucks organization, where Kidd is now the head coach. He stopped by Marks' birthday, which featured a custom cake whose frosting laid out, Daniel, after 14 years, J. Kidd can celebrate your birthday with you. That's pretty cool.
This kid now works for the Bucks. He's a database manager, and somehow word got to Kidd that he had invited him.
Yeah,
Maybe they passed each other in the hall.
Mark showed Kidd the letter.
Oh, he showed him the letter.
Showed him the letter, yeah.
And so he showed, and so they had a birthday party 14 years later.
I like that.
Where's Henry Winkler now? I invited Henry Winkler to my birthday party every single year. I wanted the Fonz at my birthday party. And Toby Knight, Larry Demick, Freeman McNeil, and Pat Leahy. Where are these guys? President Obama's on Twitter. Now, I know what you think. He's been on Twitter for a long time. Now he has his own personal Twitter account.
Right.
Aside from just his Twitter account, the official Twitter account of the president. His new Twitter account is @POTUS. Now, he's following 65 different things on Twitter.
Yep.
58 of them are political. 3 are the colleges he attended. And the other 4 are his favorite sports teams, the Bears, the Blackhawks, the Bulls, and the White Sox. One team feels notably snubbed.
Yes, they do.
That's the Chicago Cubs.
The Cubs. But I get it, don't you? I mean, he's a White Sox fan. So he's not going to follow the Cubs. I understand that, but the Cubs' feelings are hurt.
The Cubs tweeted back, "We're big fans of America," just saying, #you missed a team. Here's what I'll say. I hate it when politicians are phony about their sports allegiances. You see this all the time. I admire, listen, if you vote for someone based upon which team he or she roots for in the first place, then that doesn't make any sense whatsoever. So I like it when they're honest about who they root for. If I ever am elected to office, and I do anticipate being perhaps a senator someday, I think it's unlikely I'll be president,
I hope I'm
but I'll make it to senator. I'm not following the Giants on Twitter just because I'm from New York.
I'm with you.
I follow the Jets. That's my team. That's all there is to it.
Look at Governor Christie.
Exactly.
Jersey.
He's a fan of the Cowboys. I'm not a particular fan, but I admire that about him. Let him root for his team. Whoever he wants to root for crying out loud. You want to buy Michael Jordan's old house? It's for sale. And the price has dropped substantially, Mike. It's now a bargain.
This is interesting. It was first listed in 2012, the asking price of $29 million. It's since gone down. It was at $16 million, and now it's at the price of $14,855,000. If you were to add up the 1, the 4, the 8, the 5, and the 5, it adds up to 23. How about that?
So that's the reason he arrived at the number. It's 56,000 square feet with 15 bathrooms. I'll take it. Thank you. And then, finally, Carmelo Anthony says when they make a movie about his life, and of course they will.
Well, of course.
He says he's afraid of cats. He loves playing the Lakers, and he would want Will Smith to play him in a movie. Now, I've always believed Will Smith would play Robert Horry in a movie. I think they are like doppelgangers. But the question that Cerruti put up here is, who should play Greeny and Golick in the movie about us?
I'm sure I'll get the normals, the Brady Hoax of the world, and was it Jeff? Is it
Jeff Garland?
Jeff Garland
Looks like you.
Yeah, exactly.
For me, I think Catherine Zeta-Jones.
Yeah,
would be an interesting choice.
Right. I think they do dress alike.
Not so bad. Yeah, I could do a lot worse.
The best of Mike and Mike.
Mike and Mike.
ESPN Radio, bringing you directly to the biggest events in sports.
Center field, well hit, Hunter back, out of here!
From opening day of baseball,
Throw to the plate, safe at the plate!
right through the World Series.
For the third time in 5 seasons, the San Francisco Giants are the champions of the baseball world.
Whether it's LeBron, Chris Paul, or Kevin Durant, when the NBA tips off, ESPN Radio is right there when a champion is crowned.
We have a new world champion. The San Antonio Spurs are the world champions.
And when the magic of bowl season arrives, ESPN Radio is your home for the new college football playoff.
The college football playoff first national champion, the Ohio State Buckeyes.
The biggest events in sports can be found right here on ESPN Radio. The best of Mike and Mike.
Mike and Mike.
The Houston Rockets GM is going to join us. Guess how many points his team is underdog by tonight?
I'm going to say 5.
10. The Warriors are a 10-point favorite at home tonight against Daryl Morey's Houston Rockets, their general manager and the second smartest guy to ever go to Northwestern University.
You saying Wilbon was the smartest?
No. Don't be ridiculous. Pat Fitzgerald. Daryl Morey joins us on the Subway Fresh Steak Hotline. Daryl, Mike and Mike, how are you today?
Good morning. Thanks for having me on. No respect with that line.
Absolutely not. No, it's a pleasure to have you. I'm as a Northwestern alum myself, and a huge fan of what you're doing. And I love outside the box thinking when in reality what you're doing really isn't outside the box. What you're doing should be the box, because what you're doing actually has some statistical relevance, and there are reasons why we know it has worked in the past and should work into the future. I want to start with, Mike and I have been arguing back and forth here about analytics for a while. Today, and in a bigger picture over the course of time, where did you get this background from? When did you first start to believe, and why do you believe so strongly that these analytics, these advanced numbers are the way to build successful basketball teams?
Well, from a young age, I was reading Bill James's abstracts, probably, maybe something you're familiar with. And when I went to Northwestern, it turned out the company he helped found, Stats Inc., was right next door in Skokie, Illinois. So I worked there for 5 years, and then I got my break with the Celtics, and eventually hired by the Rockets. So I always believed from a young age that you could use data to improve your decisions. I think everyone as a fan felt like that growing up, like, boy, I could do better than these guys potentially, and the hope was always that I might get a shot to do it.
As this goes on and tries to become more and more prevalent in the game, the fights you get, and certainly we know that famously that you and Charles Barkley a little bit going at it, but in a bigger sense, is it the players, I guess, like myself, former players, who are the last to buy into analytics and the numbers?
I'm not sure that's true. I mean, I think, take Coach McHale, for example. He's somebody who I think is probably the best in the NBA at blending, both, what the information is telling you and his ability to work with players, to inspire them to play their best, to put them in positions to succeed. I think, for example, he's one that I think from his playing days, he always was someone who was asking questions, always wondering what was the right thing to do. And I think if you got a curious mind, you're asking questions, you're going to want to know information, you're going to want to know what's the real answer here.
Mike and Mike, Daryl Morey, the Houston Rockets general manager who likes the numbers. Here's one for you, Daryl, and I'm sure you know it. Teams that have 19-point leads with 14 minutes left in games win 98% of the time. So how did your team manage to fall into that 2% the other night in L.A.?
That was all part of the plan. That's why we play sports. I've been on the other end of some pretty bad losses. We were up 17 once against the Bulls with 6 minutes to go and lost the game. So that's why you love sports. It's the original reality TV. And if it wasn't for those moments where a group gets together and clicks and defies the odds as an underdog, I think we all stop watching. If the Yankees won every World Series, I think everyone would stop watching.
Daryl, I need your Northwestern honesty here. When they had the 19 points up with 2 minutes to go in the third, at any point there, did you think this is done?
Yeah, that goes through your mind, that's for sure. I mean, I was like, look, we've got to get this to about 10. We didn't get it to about 10 before the fourth quarter. We got it to 13. One thing that's fun about basketball is that even though the final margins are often very tiny, within the game there are huge runs. So, as somebody who watches a ton of basketball, I'm sure you guys do as well, that you're always in a basketball game. You just need to have a string of 3, 4, 5, 6 possessions go your way. That's very hard to do, but it's always there and always possible. Just like in baseball, you're not done till you're last out.
Daryl Morey is the Houston Rockets general manager. Again, a little bit outside the box thinking, so I want to ask you a few other outside the box kind of questions.
I didn't like that you put me in the box. I always try to be out of the box.
Yeah, I think that where you are is someday going to be the box, but that's neither here nor there. The hack-a-player rule is one that you said you think will eventually go away. Your team has used it. It has been used against you because the rule is on the books. Do you think that rule should be changed this offseason?
I do think that rule should be changed, but I appear to be in the minority, and folks accuse me, I think correctly, that we obviously have some skin in the game with having Dwight Howard. I think the Clippers, Detroit Pistons. There's some teams that obviously have players who are subject to that rule, and so. When we were just at the league meetings, it didn't seem like there was a lot of momentum to change it, which discouraged me a bit.
Greeny and I, and a lot of people have been talking about the 3-point shot, whether it's how many shots you take or the efficiency of it. There has been a little bit of chatter, Daryl, about a 4-point line. Is that something you would be in favor of?
I'm always in favor of looking at rule changes. I don't know if that specific one, but there may be ways to add rules. There were ways to get 4 points in the old CBA back before I think that league folded. So I think if you went back to 1970 and someone said, "Hey, let's have a 3-point line," I bet people would be 95% against. So I'm always interested in talking about rule changes and things like that.
One of the things I've talked about a lot this morning, Daryl, I have a real frustration with the draft lottery, not the way it's conducted, but the way it is rewarded. I believe that basketball and all sports today incentivize losing, and that's a mistake. It leads to things like tanking, which we see far too much of in all sports, including, in my opinion, in basketball. Would you like to see anything changed in the way the draft lottery is handled or the way teams go about getting their draft picks dispensed?
Yeah, I like the lottery, but I like the tweaks that the league office has come up with, which would not make it that you need to keep losing marginal games to get a higher and higher percentage. They've come up with several plans I think are smart, where you do get more of a chance if you're a worse team, but if, let's say, you're the bottom 5 teams or bottom 4 teams, you get an equal chance. That way there's not a complete race to the bottom to try and up your odds over and over with each marginal loss. So I think the league is looking to tweak that, and I think it's a smart change.
All right, Daryl, I'm giving you the magic wand. You can wave it, and whatever you say will become rule in the NBA. You can change one NBA rule, or you can make a rule that you want. What would it be?
I mean, I'd love to change the basket interference rule so that after an offensive rebound, you don't have to worry about whether it's in the cylinder. It makes for a more dynamic game. You don't have judgment calls at the rim of whether or not, someone's interfering with the basket, things like that. So that would be one rule I would change.
Came up in a big way. Remember the Clippers almost cost them that series against San Antonio on that play with DeAndre Jordan. Finally, Darryl, what would you describe as the single biggest key? Most people expect Golden State, who had this magnificent season, to continue their run on to the finals as they get now to play your team starting tonight. What would you say is the single biggest key to your team winning this series?
Well, I think we've got to slow Golden State's transition game. That's been something where that's where they get on these rolls of, scoring huge points in bunches and taking teams out of it. We're also a good transition team, but if we can slow them down and win that transition game or make it close, I think we'll have a shot.
Darryl, we appreciate the time, and again, we look forward to talking again in the future because you're outside the box thinking again is someday going to be the box. You'll be the box, and everyone else will be. I'm
going to try and get back outside the box then.
Well, you know what? You'll keep coming up with new ideas, and eventually people will realize they make sense.
You know what? When you Northwestern people get together, it's a little embarrassing. Okay, it's because the love fest.
What is demonstrated is your lack of equivalent intelligence.
Yes, you're right. Notre Dame degree is certainly lacking.
Darryl,
what was the bigger upset? Us coming back or Northwestern beating Notre Dame when I was in Northwestern there?
Darryl, your phone's breaking up. I think we have to say goodbye.
Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Darryl. Take care.
This has been the best of Mike and Mike on ESPN Radio Pod Center. To hear more from Mike and Mike, log on to ESPNRadio.com and become an ESPN Radio Insider.
The best of Mike and Mike.
Isn't this weather great, Golick?
Yeah, it's been a long time since we've had a day like this.
Oh, and we're doing it upright. Some Johnsonville brats on the grill, a cold drink in our hands, feet kicked up. This is how to live.
Yeah, can you imagine all those people who have to be inside working on a day like this?
Yeah, those poor people.
Oh, I'm just so glad you found those guys to fill in and take our place on the show today.
Wait, what? I thought you were going to get the guest host for today.
No, Greenie. I said I was going to get some root beer floats.
Well, then who's doing our show right now?
Well, that's not good. We better get back to the studio.
But Golick, the brats are ready.
Oh, man, Johnsonville brats, all that full, juicy flavor that comes from only premium cuts of pork. We could probably enjoy a couple of these before we head back, right?
I don't see why not. That static seems to be doing okay, and it's certainly not going anywhere.
Then neither are we. Pass me one of those Johnsonville brats.
Johnsonville, served with pride since 1945. Find delicious recipes for the grill at johnsonville.com.
The Texas Rangers into the Bronx to face Alex Rodriguez, Mark Teixeira, and the Yankees. The pregame's at 7 Eastern, followed by first pitch at 8, Sunday on ESPN and on ESPN Radio.